Smart.Replace can help you restore broken prefab links. In this case, I have a button object where the link to its prefab has been lost. I could just remove it and add the original prefab to the scene, but then all values and references set for this object would be lost. In this example, Smart.Replace helps me to restore the prefab connection of the button without losing the reference to the door. After installing the plugin, you can find it under Window, Replace Prefab. In this editor window, we drop the button object from the scene and the corresponding prefab. We can now check the components and their values we want to keep after the replacement. Unity components are disabled by default since they are not supported yet. However, you can see the button click component with a reference to the door that we want to preserve. We don't really need the animator, so it's safe to uncheck. After everything has been configured, we can now hit replace and the prefab reference has been successfully restored, just like the reference to the door. The actual use case I created Smart.Replace for is replacing placeholder objects in the later stages of game development. You see, this button is kind of boring, so I wanted to replace it with a much nicer version. We can now do it just like before by first dropping the scene object, then the nicer prefab, setting the values we want to transfer, and then hitting replace. As you can see, we replaced our button with a completely different prefab, and it still works. How about replacing the door now? This seems a bit tricky since the door doesn't know it's referenced by the button, but as you might have guessed, Smart.Replace does. The process is the same again. We first select the scene object and then the prefab. In this case, we can ignore the door component since there are no relevant values to preserve. Maybe you've already noticed, with this toggle we can ensure that all external references onto this object, also components, will be preserved. Again, we hit replace. Now the door has been changed and the button still has the same reference onto the door. It's that easy. If you have multiple similar objects in the scene you want to replace, it would be tedious to do so one by one. Smart.Replace offers search for similar objects, so we can replace any number of objects at once. First we select any of the objects in the scene and then the prefab, so we can search for similar objects. By default there are no filters, so all objects in the scene are shown. Search by name is very effective in this case, since all buttons have similar names. You could also search for components. If we now hit replace, we see that all objects are replaced at once. If they had references onto each other, they would have also been preserved. That's all I have to show for now. I hope anyone finds this plugin to be helpful. You can find a download link in the description. It's also open source, so you're free to tinker with it if you like. Thanks for watching and bye.